You never forget the sound of your own child's heart breaking. It's not a loud sound. It's a small, quiet gasp, like the air being let out of a tiny, perfect balloon. My name is Elena Flores, and that sound is why I'm standing in the middle of a crowded school gymnasium, dressed as a butterfly, ready to burn the whole place down. It was my daughter Sophia's first big school Halloween carnival. She was 7, a whirlwind of excitement and glitter, obsessed with the Egyptian history unit her class was doing. For weeks, she talked of nothing but being a powerful queen. We'd worked together, crafting a costume inspired by the great Queen Nefertiti. We used a black sheet for a simple draped gown, a wide, gold-painted collar necklace, and a deep blue headpiece. She held a homemade ankh, the symbol of life. She wasn't a caricature. She was a tiny, brown-skinned goddess, beaming with pride. The school gym was a chaos of superheroes, zombies, and princesses. The air was thick with the smell of popcorn and sugar. Sophia held my hand, her eyes wide with wonder. For the first hour, it was magic. She played games, won a goldfish, her laughter ringing out above the din. The trouble started at the costume contest. They were announcing the winners by category. Best superhero. A miniature Spider-Man punched the air. Scariest costume. A zombie cheerleader shuffled forward. Then, the principal, Mr. Henderson, a well-meaning but perpetually flustered man, stepped up. And now, for our final category, most creative. Sophia squeezed my hand, her little body tensing with anticipation. The winner is Brandon Miller for his authentic Mexican sombrero and poncho. A hush fell over our section of the crowd. Brandon, a 10-year-old from the 5th grade, swaggered up to the stage. He was wearing an enormous, garishly colored sombrero with tacky sequins and a striped serape poncho. He had a thick, drawn-on mustache and was carrying a plastic burrito, like a prop gun. He struck a pose, leaning against an imaginary wall, and the parents erupted in laughter and applause. I felt Sophia's hand go limp in mine. I looked down. She was staring, not at Brandon, but at a group of kids from her class. They were pointing at her and giggling. Look, one of them, a little boy dressed as a pirate, whispered loudly. Sophia tried to be a Mexican too, but she didn't even have a cool hat. The misunderstanding was so profound, so painfully stupid, it took my breath away. They saw her dignified tribute to an ancient African queen and reduced it to the same lazy, racist stereotype that had just won a prize. In their eyes, she was just another ethnic costume, and a less entertaining one at that. That's when I heard it. The tiny gasp. Sophia's lower lip trembled. The proud, regal posture she'd held all night collapsed. She looked up at me, her eyes swimming with confusion I never wanted her to feel. "Mommy," she whispered, her voice cracking, "why is this costume better than mine? Why is being a Mexican funnier than being a queen?" The word Mexican came out her mouth like a slur, something to be laughed at. The balloon wasn't just deflated. It was popped. I was frozen. The good immigrant instinct, the one that tells you to be quiet, to not make a scene, to be grateful just to be included, screamed in my head. Asterisk let it go. "Elena, it's just a costume. Don't be that parent." Asterisk. But then I looked at my daughter's face, at the shattered pieces of her pride on the gym floor. The good immigrant could go to hell. I gently passed Sophia's hand to my best friend, Maria. "Take her to get more popcorn, Mija." Maria's eyes widened. "Elena, what are you going to do?" "I'm going to be creative," I said, my voice dangerously calm. I walked toward the stage. I didn't push. I didn't shout. I moved the crowd like a heat-seeking missile, my butterfly wings feeling absurd and insignificant. The applause for Brandon was dying down. Mr. Henderson was handing him a small, cheap trophy. I stepped up onto the stage. The fluorescent lights were blinding. Mr. Henderson looked startled. "Elena, is everything all right?" I ignored him and took the microphone from his hand. The screech of feedback silenced the remaining chatter. Every face in the gym turned toward me. "Thank you, Principal Henderson," I said, my voice echoing in the sudden quiet. "My name is Elena Flores. My daughter, Sophia, is in the 2nd grade. She worked for weeks on her costume. She was Queen Nefertiti, a ruler of one of the greatest civilizations in human history. I paused, letting my gaze sweep over the crowd. I saw Brandon's parents, their smiles frozen, confused. I want to congratulate Brandon on his win. I continued, my tone sweet but laced with venom. It's truly creative to take a rich, complex culture and reduce it to a sombrero, a mustache, and a plastic burrito. It must have taken a lot of research. A nervous titter ran through the crowd. Brandon's father, Dave Miller, puffed out his chest. It's all in good fun. Elena, lighten up. Good fun. I repeated, the words dropping like stones. Is it fun for the Mexican children in this room to see their heritage used as a punchline? To see their culture, their family's culture, boiled down to a lazy stereotype you bought at a party store? My daughter just learned a very powerful lesson tonight. She learned that dressing up as a stereotype is award-winning. Dressing up with respect and pride is invisible. The gym was utterly silent now. You could hear the hum of the soda cooler from across the room. This isn't just about a costume, I said, my voice softening but gaining intensity. This is about what we teach our children. When we laugh at a Mexican costume, we are teaching our kids that it's okay to laugh at real Mexican people, that their identity is a costume you can put on and take off, that their struggles, their dignity, their history is a game. I looked directly at Dave Miller. Dave, your son is 10. What if he came to school dressed in a costume that mocked your Irish heritage? A drunken leprechaun with a pot of gold, maybe? Would that be good fun? Dave's face turned a blotchy red. He had no answer. Mr. Henderson tried to intervene. Elena, please, this is a school event. This is an education. I cut him off, and we are failing. We are failing our children of color by telling them their worth is a joke. And we are failing our white children by teaching them that it's acceptable to treat other people's cultures as their playground. I saw Maria at the back of the gym, holding Sophia. My daughter was watching me, her head tilted. The shame was gone from her face, replaced by a new, fierce curiosity. I'm not here to ruin anyone's Halloween. I said, my final words measured and clear. I'm here to ask for something better, for more creativity, for more respect. Next year, let's see astronauts and inventors. Let's see scientists and artists. Let's see kids dressing up as people they admire for their actions and their minds, not for color of their skin or a cheap caricature of their culture. Let's teach them that the most creative costume isn't the one that mocks another human being, but the one that inspires us. I handed the microphone back to a stunned Mr. Henderson and stepped off the stage. The silence was deafening. I walked through the parted crowd, my heart hammering against my ribs. I didn't look left or right. I reached Sophia and knelt down. I am so proud of you, my queen. I whispered, my voice thick with emotion. You are powerful and you are beautiful. And don't you ever let anyone make you feel small. She threw her arms around my neck. You were brave, Mommy. As we walked out of the gym, the spell was broken. A low murmur of conversation started, but no one stopped us. We had just become the story of the carnival. The fallout was swift and divisive. That night, our local community Facebook page exploded. There were two camps. Team Elena, mostly parent of color and a handful of white allies who had been waiting for someone to say something, and Team Lighten Up, who accused me of being a hysterical bully who ruined a little boy's moment. Dave Miller posted a long, defensive rant. This is why kids can't be kids anymore. PC culture is a cancer. But then, something beautiful happened. Other parents started sharing their stories. A Chinese-American mom posted about her son being teased for his weird lunch and called fortune cookie for a year. A black father shared how his daughter was asked if she was dressed as a welfare queen 1 year. A Native American parent linked to a powerful article about the damage of tribal costumes and red face. My act of defiance had given them a voice. The conversation was no longer about one costume. It was about a pattern of casual, accepted racism in our town. The school board called an emergency meeting. The gym was packed. I brought Sophia with me. She sat in the front row, holding her ankh, a tiny symbol of resistance. Mr. Henderson gave a waffling speech about balancing tradition with sensitivity. Then a woman I'd never met stood up. She was white in her 60s and introduced herself as Susan, a retired history teacher. "I was at the carnival," she said, "and I am ashamed to say I clapped for that costume. I didn't think. I've been teaching my students about cultural appropriation for 30 years, and I failed to recognize it in my own community. Elena Flores didn't ruin the carnival. She saved us from ourselves. She gave us a mirror, and frankly, we didn't like what we saw. We need to do better." One by one, parents stood up, not to attack, but to agree. The tide had turned. The school board passed a new policy that night. The most creative category was retired. Instead, they created categories like future leader, historical figure, and inspired inventor. More importantly, they implemented a mandatory, age-appropriate cultural sensitivity program for every grade, starting in kindergarten. On the drive home, Sophia was quiet for a while. "Mommy," she finally said, looking out the window at the passing streetlights. "My costume was better, right?" "So much better, Mija," I said, my heart swelling. It was the best one there. She nodded, satisfied. "I think so, too. Being a queen is better than being a burrito." I laughed, a real, genuine laugh for the first time in days. They say you should pick your battles. I picked one in the school gym, dressed as a butterfly. I fought it for the sound of a small gasp, for the pride in my daughter's eyes, and for the hope that the next little girl who dresses as a queen will be seen for the royalty she is, not the stereotype she refuses to be. The costume was the spark, but the change it ignited, that was the real treat. Like this story? Subscribe for more powerful Halloween dramas about overcoming injustice and building success against all odds. Hit the bell to never miss a video.